Are you ready to roll? Okay.
Yep.
Are you ready to roll?
I'm so sorry. I didn't
No,
hold
you're
you up.
ready.
Morning. Yes, I'm ready.
You ready?
Hold on. I need to.
Oh, I'm right.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. We would like to call the Public Works and Transportation Committee to order. If you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Can I get a roll call, please?
Here.
Here.
Yes.
Here.
Here. Next, we are going to need an approval of the minutes from June 3rd, 2025.
Motion Freeman, second Hickey.
Roll call, please.
Savage.
Yes.
Freeman.
Yes.
Dickey. Yes. Huxley.
Yes.
Winfrey. Yes. Rabbit.
Yes. All right, and before we get into old business, Jeff Ronaldson is going to introduce our interns. Guys, I'm sorry, I don't know how to use the microphones here yet.
See.
I'm sorry, guys, this is difficult. I don't know how to do it.
You and so Jeff's gonna be right.
Press that one, it didn't work. Because that's him.
There it is.
There you go.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
got
that
it.
side doesn't count.
Thank you. That's difficult, Miss Executive. Very impressive from our other meetings. All right, Mr. Ronaldson.
All right, very good. Good morning, everyone. Everyone in the crowd and up front. Yes, this is our second year with our summer internship program. We have 2 resident engineers internships, the engineering students. I'll introduce them, one being Tristan Minarik. He's going into his senior year at the Illinois Institute of Technology. Where's Tristan? All right. He's one of our New Lenox natives, graduated Lincoln Way West. And our other, this is actually his second year with us, to make sure that's important. He came back, so that's a good thing. And then our first timer, Ian Hilligus. He is going to University of Nebraska at Lincoln. So he's going into his junior year, also a New Lenox native, Lincoln Way West Central grad. So while they competed during high school, they work very, very well together right now. So we appreciate them. They're following our resident engineers out on the jobs, helping us keep quantities, traffic counts, everything the resident engineers do out there. They're following along and learning the ropes. So we appreciate them having them with us this year.
Excellent. Their performance meets the standard of our transportation department then?
Well, they have a month to go, but so far so good.
Okay, very good. Oh, I guess that would help if there were numbers on the screen, but okay. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Ronaldson. So now we're going to move into old business, specifically number 1, adopting the Will County fiscal year 2026 to 2031 transportation improvement plan. Can we get a motion and a second to get that on the floor? And then Jeff is going to have some comments.
Previous.
Second Hickey.
We got a previous, so let's call, oh, so second Hickey. Okay. So we would have to do an all in favor. Do you,
Oh, no.
no? Oh, discussion? Okay, we'll go to discussion. So Jeff,
Ready?
go ahead.
All right, so from all the discussion last month, it was brought back to committee to go over a few things. There's some questions brought up. So we're going to provide a little more clarity on what's in the plan, some of the questions that were asked. So I'll go through that now. One of the big questions was, changeability, if that's even a word, can this be changed? These projects listed on here, can they be changed? And I'm going to go through the statutory resolution and tip itself, just show where it shows that, yes, this is a plan and it is going to change every year. So per the statutes, it says, per quote, the county superintendent of highways, except for those in a county with a population of 185,000 or less, shall be required to do these certain things. Now, it says superintendent of highways. That for us is a county engineer. Only Cook County has a superintendent. So the Collier counties, all the county engineers have this requirement. One is to develop and update a 20-year long-range highway transportation plan. And we satisfy that with our 2020, 30, 40, and our 50 plan, which we're developing now. The other requirement in the statute is to develop a listing of the major improvements anticipated within 5 years of the date of each plan. So that's where the concept of this multi-year plan before you is. So this shows what the next 5 years are. So that's where it comes from in statute. All our Collier counties also have this requirement because they're all over 185,000. Other quote in the statute is the county engineer shall, the multi-year shall be updated on an annual basis thereafter. So right in the statute, it says this has to be updated. So each year, that's why we bring it for you at this time frame, is to show you a snapshot of where all of our projects are at. Because that's what it is. It's a snapshot of all the existing executed contracts that we have on the books. And then the plan shows you how we foresee those playing out over the next 5 years. So that's from the statute, where it comes from your resolution, which is up top there. The third paragraph reads, the Will County Transportation Improvement Program is a planning document and is therefore intended as a guide for future improvement and maintenance. And it goes on to say, is subject to change on an annual basis. So yes, as things go along throughout the year, contracts change or new projects are brought in, at the snapshot time frame, it will be updated and reflect that. And then in the tip itself, so that's where most of the information will come from. Tim, if you can go to page 22 on the tip attachment. As he's getting there, in the introduction of the tip itself, it reads the 2026-2031 Transportation Improvement Plan. It exists as a planning tool. Again, it's showing you where we're at with existing contracts and again, how we plan to make those projects come to fruition. And then as we go through there, each of the projects that are in the future years there, future contracts, they have to come to county board for approval. So plenty of opportunity for changes as we move through the schedule. One thing we also clarified from last month is that the top column where it says amount for the dollar amounts, we made that estimated just to make it absolutely clear that the values in this plan are estimates. Nothing is final. Even when we bid a project, that's not the final dollar amount because, things change through the course of the project. So these values will be updated every single year. We go through every value to update that. And I think we talked to county board. If they're 5 years out, they're pretty high level. But as we get closer to the actual year, like 2026, they're pretty well dialed in, our best guess on the estimate of those values. So detail and priority, that was kind of the other topic that was discussed in detail. So let's go into that a little bit more. Each of these 8 pages here has a lot of detail as far as when they anticipate to start the project, all the way through construction. So we show every phase of the project on there and the dollar amounts and the anticipated funding sources. So you see that. Again, not the final cost. Every Collier County multi-year plan has something laid out very similar. They list all the years like that. IDOT for their plan does not. They just say, if it's happening in 2026, here it is. Otherwise, it's in one of these other years. They say 2027 to 2031. They don't give you the crystal ball effect like we try to do here. They just say it's happening next year or it'll be later. But the Collier counties, we all generally do the same thing. We'll give you the detail as to when we think these will show up. Priority is established by how we expect the current stage of the project to progress. So we have the original phase. If we can go back to page 22 a little bit there. All right. Yes. All right, so then we're in design engineering on the first one, just for example. And then in 26, we'll start right away, and construction will be 27 for this particular segment. So we kind of talked about that a little bit. Wilmington Peatone, on the little bottom there, we see the preliminary engineering that's happening now. And then we show design engineering will start in 26, right away 27, 29. So again, it's the progression of the project is what we show here. And that's the best case scenario. They can slow down for various reasons. The designs get hung up for various reasons, but that's the best guess and the detail we provide you when that's going to happen. For Wilmington Peatone, in particular, I just wanted to highlight that we did not highlight this last month. That's a fairly new project, right? We started studying that a year or so ago. And now in this plan, we've broken it down into these categories, these segments, and when we think we can build them. And that priority was established from the Pell document that we developed in the last year. So, and I was looking at the safety aspect along the road. Where are our safety issues the highest? Where is the traffic? So that took into account how we laid out the years, as well as, what interaction with the local agencies we have, such as IDOT. So we have intersections with Route 45, I-57, Illinois 53, which are much more complicated and will take a lot more time. So that's why you'll see some happening before the others. Any questions on those projects, feel free to ask me later as to how we got to that, but that's kind of, these projects are laid out in that way. If we can go to page 20, Tim. Now, sometimes the priorities change, especially due to federal grants. So if we look at the second one, Laraway, Cherry Hill to Nelson, you'll see a $5 million item there, STPL, and it says 2028. This project 2 years ago was actually scheduled to go in 2026, but then we were awarded the $5 million in federal funds, and they're not available till 2028. So we have to move the project back. So sometimes that's what happens. Last month, we had questions on utility costs. So also shown on this first Laraway project, let's see. Yes, it's the second one there. Laraway to Nelson, utility relocation. We do have that called out. So when utility relocation costs are known, we do put that into plan. Again, as I mentioned at County Board last month, we probably won't have those costs when we first start the project because we don't know if we're actually going to hit them or not. We may know that they're out there, but we have to do our design work, and utilities have to give us their design so we know where they're at. And again, as I mentioned at County Board, we do everything we can to avoid those because they are very costly. As you can see on Laraway, that cost is $1.9 million. And again, that cost is only for when they were there first. Most of the time, they're in existing right-of-way, and they'll have to move at their cost. But in the cases where they're outside the right-of-way and we have to buy right-of-way, that's where those come in. So we do put those in as soon as we know about them, but we do try to avoid them. Let's see, reimbursement. Oh, let's move on to number 19, page 19. This is where we were talking some about 143rd Street. So just to highlight where that is in the plan, it's in the middle of the page. For here, you can see where 143rd Street is in the plan. The first part, Lamont to Cream Road, is scheduled for 2029. The Cream to Bell Road is scheduled for 2026, and that is tied to that STPL $7 million funding you see there also. Because that is the type frame we were awarded that amount from the feds. That's why the construction is for that year. And then the section to the west is scheduled for 3 years later. So we were trying to get the east side done first, which is actually where we see the higher traffic volumes anyways, and it's still coming out of that kind of commercial area. So the eastern part has more of the traffic. That's why we're focusing on that first. And then the other section is at a later date. And just as mentioned at County Board, the County Executive's Office has organized some discussion with the Mayor of Homer Glen, DOT, and some other individuals. So we've had some discussions about this project because as you know from previous public comments and even County Board, there's obviously a lot of discussion regarding this project. So there has been some ongoing discussions, and the County Executive mentioned at the County Board that she's welcome to any future discussions. But As of right now, these are the contracts in hand, and that's why it is shown this way in this plan. And then if we can go back to page 37, just to show the detail that we provide. Besides the numbers, we do provide such details on each project, a description, a fuller description of what the project is, in case you don't know what it might be. Besides the website material we have on our website, we put kind of a snapshot here as well. Some counties do something similar to this, maybe a little less detail. IDOT doesn't give any detail whatsoever. You know, their plan is huge, so you don't expect them to double their 1,500-page document with more of this. But we do. We provide a snapshot here. And again, as you look through this plan throughout the year, refer back to this. If people have questions, refer them to that, to our website for detail on the plans. And if that's not enough, our office is always open to provide that detail that you need. So then just to kind of wrap up, this is, again, an annual update, a snapshot of where we're at on the currently contracted plans and where we hope to go. In the coming year, as new contracts are brought forward to execute the progress of these projects, they all come to the county board for approval. So you have time to ask at that time about any of the contracts that are coming before you. And those will be included in the next annual update. So that's hopefully giving you the description you need. And I'll open it up to the chair to move it ahead.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Reynolds, and appreciate all the feedback. So looking up here at committee members, I see Mr. Balich would like to speak. Mr. Balich.
Yeah, I'm glad that you're explaining that it's just a plan, it's not written in stone, but I wanted to make sure it was done correctly. And everybody understands that when we vote for the plan, it's not like we're putting it in stone. So all the times that we voted in the past for the plan, it could change. And which it did with 143rd Street. It changed drastically. So I asked the speaker if we can, after, I think it was 2 months, 1 month ago, or 2 months ago, I forget which it was, but don't matter. We were arguing about that same thing. You came up with changeability. Well, a resolution is going to come to the executive committee and it's going to explain in a resolution form that when we vote for these plans, it's just so you have something to move forward with to get grants and whatever else you need. It's not written in stone. So people that, like I voted for that thing probably 5, 6 times in the plan because we're voting for a plan. We're not voting for the project. We're voting for the plan so you can move forward. Well, we're going to get that language fixed. So I thank Mr. Pelkey and the speaker for bringing that forward next week at the executive. But when you say it's a plan, well, I would say about 1.5 years ago, all this started with 143rd Street. If it's a plan, well, why couldn't we change it? You know, there's enough people that are dead against it. So when we call it a plan, and then it came up in conversations, you know, a plan, and yeah, it's a plan, but we budget for it every year. So it becomes not a plan. It becomes part of what's going to actually happen. That's why we're going to have this resolution, is to make sure it's a plan. But what do we do with 143rd Street? And then there's a road by, I think, Butler's district, Manhattan-Monee Road. I sent you the mayor there, or I think he's the mayor. He's all aggravated that that's going in. So, you know, I mean, we have to start listening to the local people. You know, otherwise we're going to end up with a bunch of really big problems here because our local people are not being representative right for a plan. And it's not, like I said, it's not a plan. So if it's not a plan, why didn't 1.5 years ago, when everybody was against it, the county board voted against it, and that was vetoed, which is legal. And then the township, well, I was supervisor, we sued the county executive for vetoing it, but that's what they said was the best way to stop it. But now I'm not the supervisor anymore, so the new supervisor has not issued another lawsuit. But if I was there, you'd have another lawsuit. So the problem that I got with this is that I get it, it's a plan, but what do we do with what happened a year and a half ago? We just shut our eyes and pretend it's not a plan a year and a half ago? Or is it a year and a half ago, is it too late? Because they haven't broke ground yet, actually, over on 143rd yet. So it's not too late. So I don't get it. I don't get why it's a plan, but everybody's against the plan. Now, we haven't voted as a board with a new board. And that's why the case was dismissed, because there's a new board. But, okay, so we haven't done that. So if we vote as a new board, what happens then? If we vote to stop it as a new board, then what happens? I'm just guessing that it's still going to go forward.
The plan reflects all the contracts we have on hand. If
But
there are changes to a contract, that will be reflected in next year's plan.
so how do we stop this thing from the county level without going to court and without any of the other stuff? If the county board votes no to it, like I tried to have it removed from the plan last month. And that's where this came from. So if it's getting removed from the plan, then that really doesn't kill the project. It's removed from the plan. So there's further discussion about it. Right?
Well, the plan is from the statute, it's the county engineer prepares the plan. And I prepare it off the contracts I have in my office. That's what this is. I can't help, I can't change what the contract says.
Well, you follow the word, there's a problem. I mean, we've been trying to stop this road for a year and a half at least, probably longer. So at that point, okay, why do we have to go through this whole process? If people don't want it, okay, and it's not like a bunch of NIMBYs, only the people who live there. You're talking about the entire Homer Township area, the entire one. Dave Oxley's not here. His district is in that. Sherry's district is in that. Oh, there he is. I'm looking over there. You know what I mean? This is like ridiculous. There's a lot of people involved with this. And yet we voted no, and then it still goes on. And I know I was getting calls just like everybody else, from the Will County Government League and everyone else telling us about how it's a very important to follow up on what we're going to do and this and that. Well, it's more important to recognize the needs of the people, because that road connects to Route 59, right? Eventually, because you said you have nothing to do with it before. Remember I asked that question and you said, no, there's no bridge?
You're
There is a
the
bridge.
bridge over in Plainfield.
Yeah. So, and it already has, the bridge is already going, and the sign on the bridge says 143rd Street. So it's going to go from Route 59 to 143rd Street in Homer Township.
There's no connection bridge over the DuPage,
It's,
Des Plaines River.
it's.
There's one over the
they-
DuPage.
Right now, they have a bridge that's going to nowhere. But the plan is what? An IDOT plan to go all the way to 143rd Street and connect to 355.
There's no document that says that.
I was told by people that bid the job.
I
I've
need to
heard you
interject
say
here.
that, sir, and that is not factual.
So why did they build a bridge and stop somewhere?
To serve the villages of Plainfield.
What I'm saying, they're building a bridge and stop, not going over anything. It's going to stop. So the bridge to nowhere,
Jeff.
there's somewhere.
1 second. Jeff, can you clarify on this? Because this bridge in Plainfield, this is the 143rd Street section. There's some bridge. Do you know what that is? I don't know if it's in.
I'm
your-
aware of that bridge. It's in Plainfield over the DuPage River.
Yeah. So
There's
step
another
bridge,
river, much larger river,
The
closer
Des
to
Plaines.
Homeland, the Des Plaines, which there
Which-
is no bridge for.
thank you. And I'm just trying to get that to be clarified. The Des Plaines, that's if we were going over the bridge, the 9th Street Bridge, you'd look to your left
No,
and you'd see it, right?
no, it's not 9th Street Bridge. It's
Well,
going,
I think he's using that as an example of that type of bridge over that river.
probably. I mean, I'm not a bridge.
But that's
I'm
not
a-
there. That's what you're referencing right now.
I'm referencing the fact that there's a bridge that's from Route 59 and it's going to connect to 355 at one point at 143rd Street. And the sign on the bridge that they put up already, it's already up, not the whole thing, but it's already up. It's like the bridge that stops. And you, come on, no one's going to build a bridge that's going to stop. Why would you spend all that money on a bridge that's going to go nowhere? It makes no sense. So it's going to keep going. It's just going to take a little bit of time, but it's going to connect to 143rd and 355. So now you're going to have an expressway basically from 59 to 355. And that means all the traffic that comes from the north, from Wisconsin side or the north part of Chicago or whatever, down 355 can go west or east. So that's going to make a lot more truck traffic and car traffic going west and east. So the quickest route right now is Route 80, just to take 10 minutes further and then you go wherever you want. But we got 159th Street too. That wasn't there when we started this plan. So now, if you can take one of them, why do we have to have 143rd? Is this some kind of a design? The mayor of Orland Park, he doesn't want this road because it'll ruin his town. The new mayor,
Do you know where you got that information from?
from the new mayor.
I've seen a text that says the exact opposite from the mayor.
The mayor told me that he wants only the part where Southwest Highway is at fixed. That's it, because it's a terrible flood zone.
Well, it's within his village limits, so that would be his priority.
Yeah, but they don't
absolutely.
want the rest of it because you'd have to take the forest preserve out, not the whole thing, but a portion of forest preserve in Orland Park. I mean, if you talk to him, did he tell you that?
This
that
is
he-
a,
that
this
you
is a
don't have
text
the
I was,
money
this
to
is just
pay
a
for
text I was
some.
given that's showing that they still want the improvements. So we have a difference of.
Yeah, but we're going,
current difference.
this is getting off topic. So, yeah.
A little bit.
lot. But what I think the important thing is that we have to recognize that when we're building these roads, they can be, as you said, changeability. I guess that's a good word. Chuck, you hear that? Changeability. I like that word. All right. So if you got changeability, why couldn't we do changeability a year and a half ago? And just do the 3 lanes? I mean, we thought about it and then the county board voted for it. It doesn't, and now you got people up here, it's not as many as before. And a lot of people are disgusted. But how do you protect those people's rights and the rest of the people in Homer Township, the unincorporated part, which is about 3.6 miles or 3.2 miles, in the village part, which is small part, 1 point something miles. So how do you protect those people? You know, the entire town from 143rd Street all the way out south to the end of our town is against 143rd Street. Everybody. It's not, you'd have to look real hard to find somebody that's in favor of this thing.
I've had people tell me they're in favor of it, including some of the
well,
people we have purchased the property from.
If you took a vote for it, would it pass a vote? The answer is no way in hell.
Well, all I'm going to say, and then I'm going to stop talking about this project, is I am working off and have in the plan a contract for a 5-lane cross section. That's the contract I have been given to execute, and that's why it's in the plan. Again, if something changes over the next year, the next plan will reflect that.
So if we took the 5 lanes out and made it a 3-lane, then that's still okay, because we can change it. We have changeability.
Well, here I am talking again anyways. The phase 1 study we did, approved by IDOT and feds, according to all the design criteria that transportation officials use, calls for a 5-lane cross section. It meets those criteria. And that's why when you do a project, you look 20 years ahead, because it takes us 10 years or more to even build a road. You plan for the future.
Well,
Again, as I mentioned last week,
Why the-
the
Yeah.
traffic volumes was on IDOT's website, 12,300.
Yeah, well,
In 2023, 15,300, $3,000, 3,000 vehicles more a day in just a matter of years with no growth in Homer Glen. So the background community, which we serve as a whole, is using the road more and more. So that's why we are still behind the study provided. Now, again, the county board will decide the contract that needs to move forward. But right now, the contract I have is for a 5-lane cross-section, and that's why it's in the plan today.
well, the 5-lane thing goes right through Homer Glen, then it goes to Cook County.
It does.
So who are we servicing? The people from Wisconsin and Lake County and McHenry County? Or are we servicing the people from Homer Township that don't want it? Or, when you talk about this, we're servicing the expansion. We have less population now in Homer Township. People are moving because of the taxes and the water bill in Homer Glen. So we're losing population. We're not gaining it.
But the
So-
traffic volume is increasing, sir. That's all I can say. The
Well,
facts are there.
yes,
But,
there-
and we're serving a county highway as a regional road. It is defined, classified by IDOT as a regional road. And our county highways do that. They move from a
What's
transportation
150
place to another transportation point.
and what's 159th Street?
That's a major arterial.
Yes.
We're a minor arterial.
Well, 159th Street won't be as big as 143rd Street. Because 143rd Street will go from Route 59 eventually all the way to Cicero. 159th Street doesn't, you got the bridge, and then it goes into nowhere land, really. It stops. So 143rd Street will be much bigger than 159th Street. It'll almost be the size of, I don't know, I have to look at a map, but like Route 80.
Point of order.
What's your point of order?
I don't know if you could do it even in a committee. Can you call a committee? It seems like we're talking just only about 143rd Street. Could you be talking about the plan? And are we going to approve the 5-year plan?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Mr. Balich, did you have any more comments?
I'm going to be voting no to the plan because this isn't removed.
Okay, thank you. All right, we are going to move to other committee members. Mr. Oxley, please
Yes,
proceed with your
Jeff,
comments.
there's several questions I have.
Sure.
Have you had a meeting with the township authorities? Because part of this, and I'm new, I'm only 6 months into this, part of this is in Homer Township, part of it is in Homer Glen. So we have two different fashions of government to meet here. So we need to have that conversation with them. The people I've heard from are against it. And the next thing is, how much less right of way would you have to take if you went to a 3-lane or 2 lanes with a center turn lane versus a 5?
Okay, so on the township level, the entire project is within the municipal limits of the village of Homer Glen. The entire project is. There's only 12 parcels in unincorporated Homer Township along this project,
Okay,
12 out of this. So not a huge amount, but yes, they are there.
which they deserve to be heard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Denise.
So the township and all the local officials have been invited to all the previous public meetings. And in a recent meeting with the executive's office, a township individual was there. So they're aware of the project, active discussion. I mean, at this point, I mean, again, I have a contract in front of me, so that's what I'm working with. So
Have you
that's
heard
where we're at.
anything from the township authorities since? the
I
meeting?
have heard, no.
No.
No, because after that meeting, we were going to provide some information to them, which the executive office did provide. So that's where it's left since
Okay.
my meeting. But then as far as 5-lane, 3-lane, we had our consultant look at a 3-lane rural section because that's what originally was asked for. And those right-of-way requirements were generally the same because with the rural cross-section, you have to go further out to make the ditches work.
Sure.
And actually, there were actually going to be quite a bit additional for detention ponds because we would have to store the water in detention ponds instead of a closed-in storm sewer system.
Yeah.
So we don't know those amounts because we would have to spend a lot of money to do that design work, and I wasn't going to spend any more money until we had direction to do otherwise. So there's
So the
that.
difference
Those
in a
roughly
5
the
to
same.
3 is negligible.
Negligible on rural. Curb and gutter, if we just kept it a curb and gutter. We didn't do a lot of detail here either, but we know we changed the construction limits with the best we could and showed that while we may come in on a lot of the parcels, we will still hit, I'd say majority of the parcels, not all of them. We would be able to eliminate some, but we would still have right-of-way tips on a majority of the parcels.
Right.
Again, that's not a detailed because that would take a lot of time and money if we were going to redesign, and we would need a supplement to really look at that. But we did the best we could, and it looks similar.
Okay, is there a way to push this down the road instead of 2029 to move it to 31 or 32 or any of that nature, just to see, in the meantime, see if we
The,
can get
the
a
western
compromise here?
side, I think you're referring to the western side where we have for 2029.
Either side.
Yeah, I mean, well, the east side I can't move because that's tied to the federal dollars, which is 2026. So I can't move that. The west side,
Maybe.
there's opportunity.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Miss Hickey had a comment.
Thank you. All of the projects that are listed in the plan have come to the board and been voted on in some way, shape, or form, correct?
All the projects, yes.
Okay. So has action has been taken on 143rd?
Yeah, there's been, other than the quoted in the plan about since 2012, I believe, but there's been 10 separate votes, county board contracts brought forward 143rd, whether the right-of-way acquisition team, the pipeline relocation costs that we've already done, the phase 2 design, as well as the preliminary engineering design. So there's been 10 separate contracts on 143rd Street, yes.
Okay. So my understanding is what we're doing here today is adopting the plan. We're not revisiting projects that have been previously voted upon. And unless there is a motion to rescind, I think that we need to move forward with looking at this plan and adopting it or voting it down one way or the other. So that would be my hope. Thank you.
I would just like to say, if the plan consists of projects that we were previously voted on, then, and today we're voting on this plan, then by our nature, we are, examining the individual projects that go into this plan. So I don't think the discussion has strayed too far away from what we're supposed to be doing with this. And I encourage other board members to speak if they have something to say. So we're going to go back to Member Balich for the second time before we go to Member Butler, then Member Ogala, and I didn't see anybody else. So Steve, if you could, you've had a lot of time, just make it quick.
Yeah, it's going to be quick. I just want to clarify something. If we had won the election, we would have from the township side, our road commissioner we already wrote it up. We were just waiting to win the election, but we didn't. So it didn't go anywhere. We're going to do a jurisdictional transfer of the part of Homer Township of 143rd to us. And our road commissioner said that we wouldn't have to increase, like you were kind of vague, but he said that, and Brent Porfilio was our road commissioner, and he's an award-winning engineer. So he's got a lot of qualifications. He does roads all over the United States. He said that you'd have to take just a tiny portion of the land with a 3-lane thing compared to a 5-lane thing. And so I said, well, what's a tiny portion? He says, well, there's a lot of ways you could do this thing. But if you, one of the ways, which he didn't do the numbers, so he didn't know for sure, but you can put your pipes and stuff for sewer and water and all, that stuff in the middle lane and not have to increase it hardly at all. You can, then there's a question about curb and gutters, so that should, in my mind, it should make it so you take less land. But he said, well, we got to do the numbers on that too. But he said for what we're doing with 3 lanes, it's definitely going to be less land getting taken than 5 lanes. So that's all I wanted to say. Because Mr. Oxley asked that question.
Thank you, Member Balich. Member Butler, please proceed with your comments.
Thank you. Okay, so first of all, I just want to start out, because I know sometimes my words sound harsh and I sound like I'm coming from an adversarial point of view, but I'm not. I want to tell you one of the first things that I noticed when I was on the board was that when I was driving around Will County and I went into Cook County, I'm like, wow, the roads out in Cook County are really bad. You know, I'm like, we actually do a very good job maintaining our roads. So I'm very thankful for the department and the work they do. And to be clear, the objections that I had to the plan were not anything about what you did, what work you had in front of you. It was more of a policy making objection. And, you know, as you know, many times I have opposed any type of, well, I want to say eminent domain, but even more quick take. I oppose it very much. So it just seemed to me like in these projects where we get these federal grants, you know, for $6 million or $2 million or whatever, to do this road study, determine, you know, on traffic patterns, what is the best way to handle all this traffic? But did we talk to the townships? Did we understand what effect that those plans were going to have on the community development within those townships? And is there a way that we can handle that traffic, but maybe not affect the community development in an adverse way? And that's what we're finding here with a couple projects, with Homer. Obviously, they're dark skies community. They like their quiet little town. And, you know, for Moni, you know, they have a community development plan that they think will be adversely disrupted by this new project. But they also say, hey, there's a good idea. We could maybe reroute this around this way and it would work for us. And the policy objection that I had was, why are we having these discussions with these townships after we've gotten the grants to design the project? So that was what I was saying is, you know, like, how are we figuring these priorities? Not how do you have them prioritized? How do we figure out what is a priority? That was something that I was more interested in. And, you know, like.
One more time, I think that was a real important thing that you said about the priority within the project and what's important. Because I feel like that speaks to a crux of our problem with all these items.
Okay, well, you know, I had a train of thought. I obviously
sorry.
don't
Sorry.
remember exactly how I said it.
If you want me to answer, maybe a little trigger and clarify. Maybe you can clarify what I'll say if I don't answer you correctly, and then see if that answers your question. So I'll give me a shot here. The townships and funding. So the federal dollars we get are typically in the construction phase. So that's when the phase 1 and phase 2 are generally done or near done. That's usually when we get them, because that's when you apply for the big ones and get them. So that's closer to the construction phase. So we don't have that up front. The townships and all of our local agency, they're involved on the front end, which oftentimes is the phase 1 study, which we're going through in Wilmington Peatone. We're going through the phase 1 study right now in Moni, which I think is the second project you're talking about. So with the preliminary engineering, all the local agencies are involved in that discussion to find out what is the proper route. So that happens at the front end before the federal dollars are even allocated or sought. We can't seek federal dollars into phase 1. They will not accept it unless you have a phase 1 study done. So we're involving the townships and the villages up front.
You just had a meeting with Moni on June 26th.
Correct.
I mean, maybe I'm reading your timeline wrong, but haven't you already spent money on the planning of that project?
Oh, sure.
And isn't it like close to 4 million?
We have not spent 4 million. No.
What is it?
I don't have that value.
It was
but-
at least 2 million. Because,
have-
I mean, I'm looking at it, maybe I'm reading wrong.
Yeah, those values on there are just
Back to the-
contract amounts.
Please. To the policy, okay?
Okay.
Better than to spend $1 to first talk to the communities. Okay, because I don't want to like have to pin you down on exactly how much money, because I look and I see that we're spending money before we have the meeting. And I know, because trust me, I got quite a few calls from that. When I objected to this, I just read the 42-page report and I thought, you know, I'm not hearing some things in here I'd like to hear if they want my approval. And a week later, you had a meeting, or 2 weeks later, and I didn't even, so, you know, I got my email or my letter today because I didn't come in. So I didn't even know about the meeting, but I found out about it because I had tons of people calling me really upset. And it was the same thing with Homer. So I was starting to see a trend here, and I just feel like, I'm not trying to blame anybody. Like I said, you guys do a good job, and I want good roads, you know, but, you know, maybe before we spend money, we talk to people. Maybe you find out from Moni, like, yeah, we're okay with the road as long as you change the route a little bit, and can you do this? And then when you spend the money, it's based on something that everybody wants, not have to go back and spend more money to find out if that alteration will work. You see what I'm saying? I'm not opposing projects. I'm just opposing not having a partnership with our townships so that they can be, you know, better received. You know, there's always money to be spent. We can always spend it somewhere. If they don't want it, we can spend it somewhere else, I'm sure, you know, but better that when we do spend the money, they want it than not. So that's why I, you know, talk about maybe a policy change or, you know, put into the transportation plan on how we actually come up with these projects or plan them. I mean, honestly, for Homer, I get it. Wider road, more traffic, you know, less stop sign wait, you know, less, you know, you get to work 5 minutes earlier. But the people that live there, they don't care. They just want their property. They want to live. They want to enjoy their peace and their prosperity from owning land and being able to be comfortable where they live. But we just decided, somebody decided to blaze a road through there. And so I want to know why that was a priority, you know.
Sure.
And I want to know why we're even planning these projects without talking to the people before $1 is spent.
Sure, absolutely. First, to start off on the big picture, we have a long-range plan in place for 2020, 30, 40, and now 50, of which there has been extensive public involvement to the public, the local agencies, townships, municipalities, state officials. All of it have a chance to comment on this plan showing where are the projects needed, including the public. And again, some of them will comment that they don't necessarily like a particular project on the plan. That's a reality. But we do have those conversations. The opportunities are given there for them to comment. That's the very, very big picture. So a 20-year plan. And those are the projects we work off of as we go into our multi-year plan and bring new projects into the plan before we start them. We look at where the priorities are and discuss which ones are more immediate from a traffic standpoint or safety, whatever it might be. But those contracts are brought to the county board for approval, and they usually are not brought forward until we have had some conversation. There's a need for it for some reason. Either someone's bringing to us a need for the traffic volumes or the safety, so that happens. Now, in Manhattan Moni, Homer Glen's case, I can't speak to that too much because that's since 2009. So I can't speak to the initial process, although there was a phase one with all these people invited to talk about the project. Manhattan Moni's one, the recent one you're talking about, that project was brought forward to county board a year or so ago, but it came because in 2018, the 5 municipalities in that area came to us as a county. It wasn't even on our radar, saying we now want something done out there. The trucks are going where they should not be. Township roads, municipal streets, they're going where we don't want them to go. So the county needs to do something. So then in 2020, we started a plan based on their input. So we started this plan, and now here we are in 25, still trying to figure out the best route to go through. And now we've had the more recent meetings with some alternatives presented for people, the public, the township, the municipal officials to comment on. Nothing's set in stone as far as the route at this time. The Village of Moni is going to provide us some recent information on development they have going on, so we'll have that ongoing dialogue. But in that particular instance, I think there has been a multitude of opportunity for engagement of the local officials, and it wasn't even our idea. It was the idea of those administrations at the time. So we're not going to bring a project forward to you that doesn't have some level of discussion already, because we're going to need buy-in from the municipalities, at least the new stuff. I can't speak so much to the old stuff, but the new stuff, we want that. I mean, there's a Illinois 53 and Arsenal Road township individual wanted turn lanes put in there. They brought that to us. Wasn't our project, state's intersection. We talked about as a committee bringing it forward and doing it ourselves and voted to do that. No contract yet. I went to IDOT and they said, oh, we're going to include it in our project. So that's getting done without us even doing it. So there is dialogue. Maybe if we miss some people, we hope not, but I'm definitely open to making sure we have
I
open
appreciate
dialogue.
that. I appreciate that. Obviously, we're short on dialogue in a few areas because it's a
Okay.
big deal. And as far as details go, when they came to you to talk to you about truck traffic, because I get the same thing, believe it or not, they probably call multiple different departments about truck traffic. They call you, they call me. I have to call the sheriff. I have to get scales out there because they're driving heavy trucks on their roads that can't support them. You know, so there's, anytime you decide that the road project's gonna come, there's 3 different types, right? You know, so you can either do a full, road expansion, you could do intersections with turning lanes and streetlights, and then there's just repavements, right? Because, I read through the plan, and so how did you determine that it needed to be a whole, road expansion all the way through there as opposed to one of the other ideas? Or how come we're not told that in the plan based on, increased truck traffic, this is why we want to do this? I'm just saying for, when, and this is a lot because we get this thrown in our face that you approved it. You approved it. You approved the plan. Well, the plan needs to be more detailed so we know what we're approving. And that's my objection to it, not the fact that you're doing, repairs on roads and you're doing the best you can, but I'm just gonna let that go for now, but I did one other thing. So, and this might be a little personal, I don't know, but on road projects, I heard the biggest delay on a road project is the utilities. Is that true?
Once we go to construction, yes, that is our biggest issue. Right-of-way acquisition is the one that gets us, is a delay to construction. But once we get to construction, it's often the utilities is our biggest issue, yes.
Because honestly, like Pfeiffer Road, I drive down it every day. And I can't tell you in the last month or two if I've seen anybody working on that road or not. And so, the fact that we don't really get a hold of the pipeline and the utility companies up front and get it all like figured out, I would speak for almost everybody in this room when I say we love road projects. We just like them to get started and finished and not be a bunch of horses out there that we're driving through and no people. So the idea that we don't talk to the pipeline companies and we don't talk to the utility companies up front, maybe that's a policy change that we can make, because I know for a fact on the Moni Manhattan Road, the pipeline companies weren't even approached yet.
Okay, so, I don't want to take it personally, but because you don't know. Every 2 months, we meet with all the utility companies and go over the status of our design of our projects from the very moment it starts to construction. So every 2 months, we're talking with the utility companies, letting them know where our status of our plans is, asking them where the status of their utility relocation plans are to us. And it's oftentimes that they don't respond back quickly. Some do, some don't. So every 2 months, we're meeting with them in the design phase. So the pipelines on Manhattan Moni have been contacted. We've had quite a bit of dialogue with BP and whoever else is out there trying to locate where they are at. So they're involved, and we're right at the beginning of those projects. So that's getting done. As far as, I don't know what Pfeiffer is. I don't know what's going on in Pfeiffer. But the delays, when we get closer to construction, they're just not able to get out there. I don't know why that is. They give us timelines. The utility companies give us timelines. We put them in the contracts as to when they're supposed to get completed, and they fail to meet that. I have no control over the utilities. I wish there was something legally we could do to make them hold to those. So sometimes that delays the starts of our projects. And at that point, we know where all the conflicts are at. Now, occasionally during the middle of the project, such as on Bell Road, a conflict comes up that we weren't aware of because they relocated in the wrong spot. So that does shut our project down from time to time. So we have those instances. But I'm going to reassure you and the committee here that we have a lot of dialogue with the utilities. I don't know how successful it has been. Every road agency has this issue, including IDOT. And I don't know what the fix is.
So-
It has to be legislative fix somehow, but as far as our end, we have bi-monthly meetings with these utility companies.
So my last point here, okay, maybe weekly, because it is a construction project. So that would keep everybody more in tune, a weekly contact, like I contact ComEd when I do my projects and get updates. And I know they can be tough. They got to put in work orders and then they disappear. And then, you're waiting for a reply. But maybe instead of every 2 months, because that's a long time. And then the other thing, that's a policy decision. That's that object to the plan on. And then my last thing, excuse me, I just said it was my last point. So allow me the decency just to finish my comment. And the only reason I said something about the pipeline, because I met with the pipeline company and they told me they had not been approached. So they lied to me if that's the case.
The pipeline, I'm sure, is a huge organization. Our engineers might not be talking to certain people. So, I mean, if you need the names, I can provide you the names of who we've been talking to.
I would like that.
And
Okay.
then as far as during construction, though, the bigger construction projects do have bi-weekly. Construction manager Brian Gieske is here in the room. He meets with the contractor bi-weekly, and the utilities are invited to that up until they're not in conflict anymore. How much they attend, I'd have to refer to Brian, but they are invited to the bi-weekly meetings if those exist. So again, those meetings always don't go quite well because everyone's pointing at each other as to why we're not getting certain things done, but they are involved there too.
Okay, thank you. Members Ogala, Richmond, and Williams, we have a couple committee members that would like to speak. We have member Freeman next, then member Oxley.
So thank you, Jeff, for
Yep.
taking all this time. I have tried to keep it on the fact that we're, the plan, but obviously we're talking about other things. The 143rd Street, we have a 3-mile section. Why is that the last 3-mile section? Is it because it's the hardest one to get to? Is it because of, why did we wait for this little section to be last?
Because the ends had the most traffic impacts. I-355, obviously huge traffic generator. So that was focused on first. The tollway did that, of course. The state did. Archer, the village of Homer Glen itself did State Street and Lamont Street. They built that 5-lane cross section themselves. And then back in Homer Glen on the other side, the commercial area. So a lot more traffic volumes were higher there. So we focused on that part first. So we went on the ends and then worked our way in.
Well, that makes sense to me. And you kind of answered my question about the process for notification. I know that you do like public hearings and public information sessions. How do you let the community know about those?
The leadership is invited, similar to the postings, the letters you get when public meetings, they get a letter as to the upcoming public meetings.
It's like the constituents that are close to the project would get a letter.
The constituents along the corridor, yes, I've now granted the county board in the last year or so, whatever it was, passed a resolution for a quarter mile on either side. So we're incorporating that into all of our public meetings. So the last public meetings we have had that quarter mile swath.
And this has been going on since 2009, you said?
The 143rd one.
Yes,
This
so-
particular section is, the whole quarter has been going on for decades.
So it's been going on for a really long time. And I'm assuming that, there's been some change with every election with leadership and
Yeah.
legislative sessions. So I'm assuming somehow they're informed as well?
During-
I don't know, and I know you can't talk for townships and municipalities as to how they inform their trustees and their newly elected about projects in the area, but is there a method that we go about to make sure that they're aware that this is going on?
You mean change in leadership?
Well, I mean, in like with every election, you get new members.
Okay.
There's change with who sits on the boards. So I've heard today that they didn't know that
Okay, I think I see. So, yeah,
this
so
was
we,
occurring. So
we've-
how do we make sure that after an election, the new representatives of the districts are
well,
aware?
I'll be blunt. I would put that on their staff to educate them on things that are going on in their neighborhood or their municipality. Now, during the phase one, we deal directly with whoever is in administration at that time,
Okay.
and there's documents and records to that effect. So I'm not sure I'm willing to have my staff chase down every person that's
Every
changed.
2 years?
I'm just not
Okay.
at the point where I'm at that point. I think the staff should have some responsibility to educate their leadership on what's going on.
Okay, so like I live off.
But there
of-
is the sixth, that like every 2 years, we're notifying everyone along the corridor, and that would include the villages. So we would catch them at that point. Granted, it might be a year into their administration, but
So I live off of Renwick and 30. I have seen the changes. There was a time where 30 was just 2 lanes, and now it's 4 with a turn lane. Traffic moves smoothly. It's beautiful compared to what it was. Renwick used to be a 2 lane. Now it's got a turn lane down the middle. And there was a lot of outcry, but it's safer because now you have an area to turn into. You're not blocking traffic. You're not getting rear-ended. So I am in favor of this plan. And I think we need to focus on that again. And thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Member Freeman. We're going to move to Member Oxley.
Yes, I would question if there's any representatives here from Homer Glen or Homer Township to speak on this, because this committee needs to hear what they have to say also.
We do have a section for public comment, which we are going to get to in our agenda. I have seen before where we've made motions to move public comment up, but I'm not sure if would support that. I mean, if there's a motion, I don't think I can make a motion, right? Oh.
Thank you.
Member Winfrey, go ahead.
Thank you. Just a couple of things. To Mr. Oxley's point, we have had that public comment on this particular road already extensively. And at this point, we are on the plan overall, not individual pieces of it. And a lot of work has already been done. As Mr. Ronaldson has said, he has the contract in hand. So I would suggest that we move forward with the plan overall. Plan by definition means a guideline. This is what we're going to do unless money falls through, circumstances don't allow, things like that, as he has already said. So I would move that we go forward with the plan, take the vote to either accept this plan or not again.
Okay, and then we did have 3 more members that wanted to chime in. They've been patiently waiting, so I'm going to, I don't think there's been a second to that motion, and I don't think we could call the question in committee anyway. So yeah, okay, so we're
Motion
going
was to approve the plan as presented.
I would second that motion.
yeah, I think we already had a motion on the floor. I might need some help from the state's attorney on that. That seems like that's like calling a question, and I know we can't do that in committee.
Yes, I think, given the way you've operated so far in this meeting, I think you need to give the other county board members the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, thank you. All right, thank you, Mr. Oxley. So we're going to move to Member Ogala.
Thank you. So I just want to say a couple things. One thing that I observed sitting here is when we have a county board member who's very passionate about an issue that's in their district and they're fighting for their constituents, I think it is completely rude that some of us snicker and smile. maybe it doesn't matter to you because you don't live anywhere near there, or maybe you think somebody's going over the top. But the person should be respected. It's their passion. They have lots of constituents who, especially with this situation, who are opposed to it. So I think you guys should show a little more respect when somebody is speaking. Jeff, I just want to say, as always, I've had a good working relationship with you and members of your team. And like Dan said, Will County roads are in good shape. So I hear this conflicting conversation here. We hear it's a plan, but we have a plan, we have contracts in place. So it's really not a guideline. Because if it was a guideline, we wouldn't have contracts in place. So we have to determine the difference here, and things change over time. Members of the board change over time. So if the board decides to say, hey, you know, we're changing, we don't want to do this, the board has the right to do that, regardless how many times in the past something has been voted on. I did have a couple questions, Jeff. I was wondering how much money has been spent on the 143rd Street study, and where did those dollars come from?
All right. 143rd Street, we've spent on the order of 6.3 million since 2009. And that's come from a variety of sources, the various road transportation funds we've had. They're all local funds, was there, in the phase 1 study, I believe there were federal dollars in that. I don't know the amount, unless Christina, do you recall? Yeah, because Christine is our phase 1 project manager. But so 750,000 federal, otherwise all the rest were local funds, meaning county local funds, MFT, RTA, any assortment of those.
All right, thank you. And so, like everything, you have to do a study before you determine whether you're going to move forward with a road improvement to any degree, whether you're going to just add stop signs or whether you're going to go from 2 lanes to turn lanes to 3 lanes to 5 lanes, what have you. So things change over time, and this board gets the right to have that decision to vote on it. So for a board member, it becomes difficult because, like Steve mentioned, you voted on this 10 times. You voted on it 10 times. Well, we get the 2020, the 2030, 2050. In 2050, I don't know how much people are really thinking about. I know our highway department has to plan for that. That makes sense. But some members of the board may not look at it that closely for a 2050 plan until it gets further along. So I think that, I think some of the changes we've made with Public Works and Transportation that we've asked Jeff to at the beginning of after every election to take the road projects that are in the area broken down by county board districts so the new board members can see what projects are going on in their district is very beneficial because, like they say, it could be 7 to 10 years from phase 1 to phase 2. And during that time, maybe it gets brought up here and there on our agendas, but not everyone's really paying attention because people are out on the road doing their work. And then when phase 2 is about to hit, then it becomes reality again. So there's that lag in time. So I think it's appropriate that we're having the conversation. And while we're talking about the entire plan, 5-year plan here, it is specific to the 143rd Street. It's very controversial and people are very concerned about this road. So I think to say that we shouldn't be talking about it is, it's kind of like, well, that's why we're here today. So I think we need to take a good look at this. And if the members of the committee decide they want to pull 143rd Street out of the plan, that's their decision to make. They're the elected officials. They sit on this committee. They can make that decision if that's what they want to do. That's what we're here to do, is do our vote on what we want to do, not be told that we have to follow something because it makes sense to look at situations again and again. And one last question, Jeff. Did we originally look at 143rd Street in case 159th was not done by the state? That is something that I've heard again and again, that we planned 143rd, which is a county highway, and this 159th is state, just in case. Because I know we've done things down in my area, like if something isn't done, then we would do something because we have to move the traffic. So is that true statement? Do you know?
I'm not sure I understand the frame. You mentioned the 2, but what I will say is that when we developed our project, we were aware 159th Street would be widened to the 5-lane. but our improvements, our traffic projections still showed 143rd Street was needed regardless.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we are going to move to member Richmond. Give me a second. Oh, I'm in the wrong row. You're good to go.
No problem. Thank you. You're doing a great job of running this meeting.
Thanks.
So thank you for everybody coming out and having a healthy discussion on this. 143rd Street runs right through the heart of Homer Glen. Those people are very passionate about their area, just like every one of us should be passionate about the people that we represent. I'm not going to go through everything that we've, talked about in that. I think a number of my colleagues have had some very good statements, some very enlightening statements. I think what it comes down to is communication. About 3 weeks ago, don't quote me on the exact time frame, the county executive sat down with the mayor, her staff, and the township, Homer Glen Township staff. The discussion was had to provide information to Jeff, you and the team provide the information back to him. And the objective was to come to a compromise. That's only been 3 weeks. Now, I know this is part of the plan, but this is what's going on as we speak. Steve, you brought up a great point here. The 3 lanes with putting the storm sewer down the middle of it. Never heard that part of it ever before. That's a great concept. And what you're doing is you're going to take less of the people's property. You're going to keep the road. We're coming up with some kind of compromise. We're keeping the people, letting the people have their property and keeping the roadway further away from some of those houses. Some of those houses literally sit within 30 or 40 feet of the center line. Maybe it's 60 feet, I don't know, but it would literally be in their front porch or their backyard. I think it's our job as elected officials to try and protect the residents. And yes, we do have plans. We have to make plans. Dan, to your point of that it takes so long to build a roadway. We built the Hoover Dam, without computers, almost 100 years ago. And we did it in years, not decades. So I think what we need to do is look at how we can streamline some of these processes and make these things, open up the lines of communication. I know, Jeff, you and your team go out and do these long, these presentations and all that. People just aren't engaged. So it's up to us as county board members to engage with the elected officials in the townships and the villages and make them aware of what's going on in the 2030, 2040, 2050 plan. So that this way we can do our job, they can do their job, and we can try and bring some of these things to light long before a shovel is even in the ground. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Member Richmond. We're going to go to Member Williams.
Thank you. My question basically is about the plan development, because I do think that I agree with Member Richmond that the communication is not there. If the public is opposed to some of the plan that we have come up with, will we then not go forward with that part of the plan? That's the question for you, Jeff.
Sure. So the plan is, again, it's a snapshot of the contracts we have in hand. And then from that point, it projects how we would bring the project to fruition, which will involve additional contracts, additional, whether it's design or construction. So if there's concern brought up over a particular project, that should be brought up, and then we can work through that dialogue. And then whatever contracts come out of that, whether the county board approves future contracts or not, those will be reflected in the next plan. Again, the plan is just a document. So I can see some confusion between contract and future contracts, but the plan is based on the existing contracts we have in hand, and then all the future ones we will have to bring forward to make that happen. And that's where the county board still has the say to not bring it forward or not. If there's enough opposition or where we need to change or modify a project, then that future contract will look different. So say Wilmington Peatone, it's laid out a certain way, and we're just at the very beginning of that project. So if some people don't want a certain segment over another, then that contract for the preliminary design, you guys don't vote that through. And then that's changed in the next year's plan as the snapshot. Or if you find one segment more priority than the other, we can talk about it and see if it makes sense to move that project, that contract forward quicker. So that's where the changeability happens. You can change the order of the future contracts. Now you can change the existing contracts, and the county board has that ability, but I'm working with the contracts I have in hand. So I'm not sure if that really answered your question, Sherry.
Not really, because where do the contracts come from?
The contracts come from the county board that we bring forward into the county board.
Right, you bring what kind of contract are we talking about though?
The contracts range from preliminary engineering, which is the very beginning stage where we try and figure out what the road should look like. Then we have the design contracts, which we take that information from the phase one and design the contract plans from that. We have the right-of-way acquisition team, appraisals, title reports, negotiators, all those contracts. Then the construction contracts themselves, where we take the plans and bid it out and bring that contract to you. So there's all kinds of different contracts. And they're all reflected in this snapshot. Some are right-of-way, some are preliminary engineering, some are design. The construction ones aren't there because obviously if it's constructed, it's happening. So we don't need a plan for the future. It's happening.
So I guess I'm talking about, before you even get to that point, when you're deciding.
Okay. So yeah, that when we're deciding which contracts to bring forward, we bring that to the Public Works Committee as, is this a project we're ready to move forward? I can think of Manhattan-Moni between 45 and Center. We asked, is this a project we want to bring forward as a contract? And the committee agreed that it made sense to extend the road from our current limits to 45. So then we got that concurrence, and then we sought out contracts to bring forward. I think there's some other instances like that can come to mind, but that's what it is. If we,
Okay, because I think that better answers it. And if during that time,
Yep.
the citizens are like, no, we don't want it, and we're getting a lot of heat, and they decide that that's not something that we want to move forward, it would be at that point that we would do that.
well, I mean, honestly, like Manhattan-Moni and 45 to Center, I mean, that was our concept brought to the board to see if they agree, and the public just isn't going to know about it yet.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So we seem to kind of leave the public out of it, and that's where the problem comes in, because we're doing all of this stuff, and then we go forward, and then all of the people that live there say, what are you doing? We didn't ask for this. You guys are just doing stuff because you want to do it. So then they're vehemently opposed. And I know sometimes people are going to be opposed, and we're going to move forward anyway because we think we need to. But sometimes we don't need to, and we just move forward because we want to. So if the public doesn't want it, when do they get to say that?
That's in the phase one process. So like that.
But we've already done all these contracts and stuff by that time, right?
Only one.
Okay.
The phase one is one single, very initial contract, and built into that contract is all the public's involvement process. I mean, the manuals to carry out this public involvement, they're very large, and they're posted online on IDOT's website. We have a very strict process to get federal dollars that we have to do the public involvement certain ways, and it's all laid out there. And that takes place in the first contract. If it turns out that there's a no-build issue, which is a choice in phase one, you look at the alternatives, and if none of them work for whatever reason, public involvement doesn't like it, local agencies don't like it, or there's just resources in the area, natural or otherwise, that just don't make it possible, there's a no-build scenario. It doesn't go anywhere. And then even if the phase one contract shows a route is desirable or needed, county board's going to approve a second contract for the design. So if you're getting public feedback and you still don't like what the phase one says, you don't vote on moving a phase two project forward.
Okay, I thank you for that. I think that the problem, as Member Richmond said, is the communication, because at some point, the public needs to be involved. I mean, that's who we represent. So if we're not talking to the people that we represent, then what are we doing? We're just deciding for people because we're the geniuses that know everything and they don't. I mean, so we do need public involvement, and I don't think that there's been enough, or maybe not soon enough. And so that is kind of on us as well. But I do think that we should not disregard the public, because it seems like there's a lot of mention of a lot of things, but the public's not one of them. Thank you.
Williams. Moving on to Member Van Dyne.
Thank you, Chair. We do have this plan in front of us, and I know it was mentioned. Maybe some folks aren't. In particular, some of the minor projects that are on this plan, but we are here to vote on the plan. I appreciate Mr. Ronaldson for coming in once again to give more detail on the plan and how it's designed and how it's expressed to the public and all the elected officials. You know, I feel like this board has really done a good job with the temperament since this issue has been brought forward. I know there was mention of some snickering. I happen not to see it. But that, you know, that's the respect that I think we all need to give to our committee members. But I'd also would like to give respect to the chair of the committee as well. I think for the most part, everybody has addressed you, but I do hear some comments that people are talking out of line. So, and you've handled it really well, and I appreciate that, Mark. So I encourage the board to feel free to go ahead and either pass this plan or deny it.
Yeah.
And one other thing, I know some year ago or 2 years ago, there was an attempt to keep people off the floor. That does not work for the county board. And I feel like that did not come from me, but it was the previous administration, and I happen to see that today. So I would like that to try to end as well. Thank you.
Understood. Okay, yeah, I do think we have enough discussion that took place to move on to vote on this. We do have a public comment section. Are you? No, if you'd like to make a motion, I can up here. Hold on one sec. Let me get his microphone on.
Okay.
Go ahead, Mr. Oxley.
I'll make a motion to hold our vote till we hear from the representatives from Homer Township and Homer Glen that are here today.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Can we get a roll call, please?
You need to make a motion to change the rules, public comments. That's the motion you have to make.
Okay, so Mr. Oxley, can you restate your motion?
Change the motion to amend the rules to let public comment go before we vote on this.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have a roll call, please? Ooh, I don't know which mic. Oh, I got it. No, it's okay. I had it first one.
Balich,
Yes.
Freeman,
No.
Hickey,
No.
Oxley,
Yes.
Winfrey, Revis.
Yes.
Motion fails.
Okay, motion fails. Okay, so I know we had a previous motion and a second. I do have one other discussion item separate from all the specific road projects. Jeff, you had mentioned in there that one of the most difficult parts is the utility relocation, because a lot of time we set dates in these contracts and the utility companies don't adhere to those dates. Do you remember saying that? That's the case? Okay, I didn't misunderstand anything. So I would just ask that if you could look into, you don't have to respond now, but if you could look into if we are legally allowed to draft a clause within these contracts that imposes a late fee for failure to move the utility on time, so we can make the financials of the project a little bit more favorable for the
Well,
county.
I do appreciate what you're saying. Unfortunately, that not quite correct in that I might, if I didn't clarify it. We have no contract with the utility companies. It's just, there is no contract with them. So we get their construction schedules from them and we include that schedule provided from them in the construction documents for the contractor. So it doesn't bind the utility company. It just gives the contractor an idea. So when are these people actually going to be out of the way? So when they bid on it, they can see that when it's going to happen. So I don't have a contractual
Yeah, so
hammer
it sounds like an
or
item for
utilities.
legislative then.
It is legislative,
Okay.
absolutely.
Understood. So just something that I think maybe we should pick up. That sounds like good future business for the board. Okay, so we did have a motion and a second. I think there was a previous, member Balich.
I motion to amend the motion to withdraw 143rd Street from the plan for approximately 6 months, until after there's the discussions between the county and the township and the village are finished. So we're not moving forward on something and spending money and time on something that may change.
I would second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to amend the motion to remove 143rd Street off the plan for 6 months. And we have some input from the state's attorney here, I think. Oh, I'm sorry, maybe not.
Oh, you've already done it once. Change anything.
Yeah. Okay, one sec. We're going to put on your microphone and we're going to proceed with that.
You've already done it once. Now you're doing it again. This is going to go on forever. You can't keep doing it. You already had one opportunity to amend it. You can't keep amending it. So this is improper what you're doing now. It's out of order.
Thank you for clarifying. Okay, I got a couple things coming at me. Everybody, please just wait for your time. Member,
The same motion?
No.
So you can amend as many times as you want. You can make all the amendments you want. And you can't make the same amendment. That would be wrong.
It's already been amended twice.
okay.
No, but a different motion.
I think we might have to side with the state's attorney on this. Mr. Balich, I'm going to let you speak though.
Point of order, I want to speak
I'm
because the
letting you
state's
speak.
attorney is wrong.
Okay, I'm letting you speak. Go ahead.
When I made the motion before, I wanted it removed from the plan. This time, I'm making the motion to remove it from the plan for a period of time of approximately 6 months until the discussions about it are finished. So in other words, I don't want to spend money or time on something that's going to change possibly.
So the first
it's
motion
a
you made was
completely
to
different
remove it
motion
from the
now.
plan.
Guys, we don't
And
need-
the second motion you made was to remove it move it from the plan for 6 months. Same thing.
No,
just a
it's not.
different
You
time.
didn't, you're not saying the whole thing. It's remove it from the plan for 6 months. And the reason why, that's the important thing. There's discussions going on right now between the village, the township, and the county executive's office. I'm not privy to those discussions, so I can't tell you how they're going, but I know there's discussions going on. As long as there's discussions going on, that changes the entire motion that I made. So you're taking the other part off. So again, I'm saying you're wrong. You're a
You
good
can say
guy,
I'm
you're a
wrong all
smart
you
guy.
want.
Come on, let's
Balich.
let's think about this.
The fact of the matter is, this is a plan based on contracts that have already been signed and approved by the board. You
I'm
can't
making an
get out
amendment.
of the contracts because they've already been approved and signed. We're locked into them. This is merely, as Mr. Ronaldson has pointed out, for an hour and a half, that this is a plan to move forward with those contracts, and that's all it considers. It's time to vote on it. You've been talking about it for an hour and a half, and you've made 2 motions, which you're only allowed to make 1.
I made one motion a month ago, and I'm making another motion now, which is completely different. You can't tell me what I just said is not the same as the other thing. It's completely different. I'm making a motion that we shouldn't be spending time and money on something that may change. You're saying just because you have a contract, well, what are we supposed to do? Make a motion not to do the contract for 6 months?
You've already.
That's a different motion then. I'll amend my motion to say, no, we want to take 143rd Street out and review the contract for, after 6 months. Is that what you want? I didn't make that. Is that what you want me to do?
The vote should be, it's
Do you want me
up
to?
to Mr. Rubus. He made
You want
his
me to base
ruling
it on the
to
contract?
move forward on the vote, so that's
Yeah.
what needs
You're
to
All
be
right,
done.
thank you,
forward on
everybody.
the vote to remove it?
No.
Member Balich, I appreciate your efforts. Very worthy, but the state's attorney has advised on where we're at. Yeah. Member Butler, go ahead if you have a item to speak on. I'm sorry, I'm trying to find your. Go ahead.
Just to clarify, the words. Could maybe if Mr. Balich wanted to make a motion to put the project on hold for 6 months on the transportation plan, would that not be too close to taking it off, just to put it on hold? I mean, the vote's going to happen. I mean,
Let me do what Dan said.
Yep, all right. Go ahead, Member Boucher.
I'm going to change my amendment to putting 143rd Street on hold for 6 months.
Same thing, you just changed the
Yeah,
word.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
taking it off.
Yeah, Member Oxley, please speak. And then, guys, I do think we're at a point where we're going to have to make a vote.
Okay,
on this.
I made the second to that motion. First and foremost, I didn't know we put a timeline in discussion, because that to me is disgusting. We need to hear from the
Well, the
record.
meeting's supposed to take an hour,
Excuse me, I was speaking. Thank you.
because we got a meeting scheduled at
Are you
11.
done? I don't care when there's a meeting
Excuse
scheduled.
me.
If we're
Excuse me.
going to discuss something in full length, then we're not, why bother? And where's the time limit? There is no time
This
limit.
project has been discussed for hours upon hours upon hours upon hours.
So what? What do you want me to do about that? We're going to discuss it until we get a full disclosure, full understanding of it. You're not going to sit here and tell me what I can discuss and there's a time limit on, because I'm not going to put up with that. I'm sorry.
I didn't say there was a time limit on it.
Yes, you did.
I said we've talked
Thank-
for an hour and a half. That's factual.
Thank,
Excuse me, everybody, please, please, please. Thank you, please.
thank you, Chair Russ.
Okay, Member Berkowitz had something
thank-
to share, please.
Thank you. I'm not a member of this committee, but I've attended these meetings for years, the entire time I've been on the county board, even when I'm not sitting on the committee. But I want to just say that I'm really shocked and saddened, and shame on the county board members that voted against having the representatives here from Homer Glen, from giving them the opportunity to come up and share their concerns. They represent their constituents. They are elected. They've taken time out of their day to be here today. And you have taken a vote against giving them their voice. It's not very considerate. It doesn't acknowledge their impact and what their stature in the community. I'm very, very disappointed by that. This is not the first time it has happened. And I really hope this board changes its attitude. And I'm not saying every member. We know who the votes are cast. It's in the record. It'll be reflected in the minutes. And I ask every one of you, we've had issues with time in other meetings as well. Land use is one of them because I was on that committee. We are elected to be here to do our jobs, and sometimes we need to take a little more time. And we don't have the answers. We are supposed to be working with our constituents, with the municipalities, with the townships, with the villages. This is our job. So I'm very disappointed, and I hope in the future we will think a little bit longer about how did we get here? And how are we supposed to represent our constituents? Thank you.
Thank you, Member Berkowitz. Thank you, Member Berkowitz. Member Freeman, please.
I just have to say, I feel like I've been called out and I need to speak to that. I wanted to just say that sometimes you know that they are going to be opposed. They have already spoken numerous times. I have heard, I've got it in my notes because I take very good notes. I'm sorry, I'm speaking. And I have heard from Mr. Balich numerous times. This vote did not go lightly. And I have a feeling I know how they were going to tell me they were opposed. And Mr. Balich has confirmed it many times sitting up here. So if you want to call someone out, I just think that there's a time and place for everything. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so I do believe we have a motion and a second on the floor to vote on this transportation improvement plan. I know that this is a high heated topic, so thank you for everybody for respectfully voicing your side of the issues. So if I could get a roll call, please. Yes, it's a motion to approve adopt the Will County fiscal year 2026 to 2031 Transportation Improvement Program. I believe there was a motion and a second earlier. Was it you and Micah? Motion and a second, and then I think. Yeah, but there was. Well, the state's attorney said that motion was not a valid motion.
State's attorney doesn't make that determination, Mark.
Okay, Member Balich, go ahead.
I make a motion to disagree with the state's attorney's opinion.
Mark, the motion in a second was made, there was discussion. If it's not going to be allowed.
I'm amending it. Excuse me. I make a motion to amend my motion to disagree.
All right,
with the
Member
state's
Balich, we've been
attorney's
told
opinion.
that we cannot make another motion on the item. I'm going to
What
respect
about
the state's
disagreeing with the
attorney's.
state's attorney's opinion.
I'm going to take the state's attorney's agreement. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me, please. This is very difficult. It's more difficult when we talk over each other. Thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to adopt the fiscal year 2026 to 2031 Will County Transportation Improvement Plan. Can I get a roll call, please?
We didn't, I just made a motion to amend that motion to disagree with the state's attorney's opinion. And did we get a second on it? I don't know. No. Okay, so.
No. Yeah, it dies. Hickey. Okay, great. Great. Okay, we're going to put Sandy on. Okay, if you could proceed with the roll call vote on approving the transportation improvement plan.
Okay. Balich,
No.
Freeman,
Yes.
Hickey,
Yes.
Oxley,
No.
Winfrey, Revis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you.
Moves forward.
Okay, moving on to other old business. Seeing none, we're going to move on to new business. Number one, the Access Will County quarterly update. I guess we have Elaine Bottomley coming on up to give a quick presentation. Please introduce yourselves when you get to the microphone. Oh, got to turn on the microphone. Go ahead.
Thank you, Member Revis. Hello, Elaine Bottomley, Deputy Chief of Staff for the Will County Executive's Office. I'm going to hand it off to Colin Phillips, our Mobility Manager, and he is going to do a run-through of our quarterly update and some good statistics about our Dial-A-Ride program. And then I'm going to jump in at the end and talk a little bit about looking to the future and potential next steps. So.
Okay, and then Colin, I'm going to give you 2 minutes here, so don't take it personally if I cut you off. Go ahead.
Okay. For those who don't know, Access Will County Dial-A-Ride is a curb-to-curb transportation service for seniors and individuals living with disabilities in Will County. As of today, we are available in 16 townships, and we provide transportation throughout Will County and parts of Southern Cook County. Transportation is provided by PACE paratransit shuttle buses designed for accessibility needs of our diverse population, whether it's seniors or individuals in wheelchairs or who require other accommodations. Registration, we've really tried to streamline the process. Someone calls in to me from anywhere in Will County. I try to connect them to their local service or to the service for the county. Registration can be handled over the phone. We found that it's the most accessible way for folks who may not be, tech savvy to make sure that this service is available to them and that they get access they're entitled to. So there's like 20 slides. I'm trying to fly through this real quick.
Yeah, no, good work. You're doing good.
This is a simplified breakdown of our current divided system of Dial-A-Ride services in Will County. Those in the light red their residents are eligible for Access Will County. Residents in the other townships are eligible for other programs. Folks from all over Will County, whether they're part of Access Will County or not, end up reaching out to me. So I try to become familiar with how their services work and give them, step-by-step instructions on how to get set up. I just want to quickly address my day-to-day challenges with this system is that a lot of folks who live in maybe Joliet or Homer, Lockport need to travel somewhere outside that service area, travel outside their townships. Same thing for folks in Bolingbrook and DuPage Township who need to travel to say maybe Joliet or New Lenox. The systems they have available are great local services. Unfortunately, they are not given the same level of access that residents that are currently part of Access Will County are. Personally, I would just like to be able to tell every Will County resident who's a senior or an individual living with disability that they have the same level of access as everyone else. So we could sort of break down some of those township and city borders and make sure everyone in Will County can get to their doctor in Will County or go get groceries or do whatever else they need to do to make sure they have a sense of independent, well-being and connection to the community. Sorry, next slide. This is a quickly recap of the study completed in June 2023 called Access Will County. And these were the 7 recommendations that the study brought forward. Got 40 seconds left. So these next slides just show how we've tried to address that information. Awareness of the program has grown, publication of brochures, county press releases. This is a map from 1 year ago and 1 day in June 30th, 2024, what our service area looked like. The one on our right is our current service area. As you can see, that red line reflects where people can go. So, a lot of folks in the eastern side of Will County need to go to Tinley Park, Roland Park for medical appointments. Those light blue lines cover all the townships that are currently part of our program. Ideally, every township in Will County will have access to the same level of transportation. Currently, everyone in Will County who's a senior or living with disability has access to some form of public transportation service. Unfortunately, not all the services provide the same level of transportation and accessibility, just due to the nature of municipal boundaries. And these are the last recommendations. We created a flat rate for fares based on distance, whether it's inside your township, outside of your township. The goals indicated by the study from 2 years ago stated that first phase should focus on expanding dial-a-ride services so that we have a consolidated system, meaning like I said once again that everyone in Will County who is a senior or living with a disability has access to the same level of transportation in Will County. And then the second phase would just be expanding service hours for weekends and evenings, particularly for, in my experience, in the day-to-day operations, for things like dialysis treatments, physical therapy, church, whatever they need to do. And this just shows how our program has grown month by month over the past 5 years. Obviously, we're at our highest levels of ridership in our program's history. So awareness of the program has grown as we've expanded the size of our service area and additional eligibility. That's just, again, a simplified example of how our program has grown. I do want to note that coming out of 2021, we did have the pandemic lockdown, so public transportation across the nation was reduced, but we have exceeded the national standard for, building back up a public transportation program. Let me know if I'm going too slow for anyone. This is just a simplified chart of how our expenditures are shared between Will County and our partners at Age Guide. And it doesn't mention our pay subsidies here, but we have grants from the RTA and Age Guide that help supplement our program. So Will County on a yearly basis pays approximately 1/3 of the total cost of the program because we're eligible for certain grants. And that really makes this possible. Based on the trend from December to April, we probably expect our ridership to surpass 13,000 this year. And again, this is saying, based on what the expenditures look like so far, if the total program cost came to 600,000, again, Will County could easily be capped at 200,000. Use our Age Guide funds, RTA funds to make that possible. We also received a one-time award from PACE that we can use for this. We can also try to implement at some point in the future means of advertising to make sure people are aware of this program if it's available to them and they're eligible for it. Okay, lastly, even though we've expanded to cover 2/3 of the area of Will County in terms of eligibility, only 1/3 of, based on US Census data, approximately 1/3 of Will County seniors are eligible for this program. And that's just due to population density. Joliet and moving northward, there is a more dense population. So 2/3 of seniors in Will County aren't eligible for a countywide service at this time. I just think that presents a real need to expand accessibility and eligibility for this program to make sure everyone in Will County gets the same level of access and transportation as everyone else. I know that's been expressed at previous meetings, and I support that fully.
Excellent, Colin.
So a quick looking to the future. As we are starting to think about 2026, not just in terms of fiscal year, but also for handling our regular Accessible County Dial-A-Ride program, we are starting to think a little bit more about expansion and consolidation. That has been a topic that we've discussed extensively here. And I wanted to share with the committee that we have started having some additional conversations about consolidation and having those conversations with our townships that aren't currently covered. So we've had in-depth conversations with Central Will Dial-A-Ride. So again, that is Lockport, Homer, Troy, Joliet, and Jackson. They've expressed interest in becoming a part of our program. Central Will Dial-A-Ride is the exact same size as our program in terms of ridership, in terms of cost, recognizing that expanding into Central Will just immediately might not be the most fiscally responsible. So we are working out a agreement with Central Will folks to see what could possibly be looked at in terms of a cost share to phase them into our program, which would still allow us to manage the program and have Colin be the point person. So this is my spoiler alert. We are working on trying to come up with an agreement that I would hope to bring forward to this committee within the next couple of months ahead of our FY26. So I know that we have an opportunity for questions. More than happy to stand up here and take them, but in respect of time, I'm also willing to take them after the meeting. So
Thank you very much, Elaine. And I know we have two, one from Julie Berkowitz. Ms. Berkowitz, please proceed with your question.
Thank you, Chair Revis. Good morning, Elaine.
good morning.
So I would like to know when Wheatland Township will receive these services.
Absolutely. Member Berkowitz, we've reached out to Wheatland Township a couple of times. We're still waiting to hear back. We have in our budget proposal coverage to expand our service. I think if conversations with Wheatland would go well, and if we're able to sit down and start really talking with them, it would be great if we could go ahead and include them in FY26. So
Excellent.
correct. Yes. So we're still waiting to really set a date to talk a
Okay.
little bit more about details.
When they finally do respond to you, what is the time? What do you think you need to get them into the program? 6 months, 3 months?
Right. So great question. We're in a really good time period right now because we're at that pre-period before we talk with PACE about our agreement directly with PACE because PACE provides our service, right? So this is a good time for us to turn around to PACE, say, hey, we're looking at expanding. We're looking to include these townships. Does that work? Is that acceptable? Really, the biggest limiting thing right now would be once we get a budget passed. So once you all vote on and approve a budget, as long as there's funds in there to support expansion, we would be able to do it.
Mhm. So here are two concerns of mine. If Wheatland Township is unresponsive, every senior in Will County should be getting this service today. They're subsidizing it, the taxpayer's subsidizing it. Every resident in Will County should be receiving this service. So why is there a roadblock through the township? Can't you just create this service in Wheatland Township and move forward with it?
We could. I don't feel as though that's in good faith. I made a promise to this board that, we aren't going to come in and tell people you absolutely have to be a part of this.
Okay.
We want it to be an open dialogue. So that
But I'm
could happen.
coming forward as a taxpayer and a resident. They should be part of this service. They're paying for it. You're getting grant money.
Mhm.
Grant money is brought forward. They collected from the taxpayer. So my point is this needs to get done. The second question I had was, it was explained to me that the way the service works is if you live in New Lenox or wherever, you're part of the system. You call for a ride and your destination is outside of the service. Let's say your destination is in Wheatland Township. They will drive that person to Wheatland Township. They will provide the service, even though Wheatland isn't in the program. And then they will pick that person up when they need to bring them back. To me, this doesn't make sense. You are including Wheatland Township. You are taking people into Wheatland Township, taking them out of Wheatland Township, but the people who are living in Wheatland Township are excluded. That makes no sense to me. You just cannot justify that.
So Member Berkowitz, that is correct. That is currently how our program is structured. I will promise to you on record that both Colin and I are going to go above and beyond to try to make sure that our FY26 budget proposal does include the opportunity to provide coverage to all Will County, because I do hear you and I do understand your concerns.
But I don't want to wait till
Okay,
2026. That's I'm asking you that problem quickly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, guys. And then Member Freeman had something to say. She's on the committee. She's going to go first, and then Member Ogalla. Oh, and then Hickey.
We were going to arm wrestle.
All right.
We're
Freeman,
gonna-
Hickey, Ogalla.
Good morning. Still morning. I noticed that you talked about seniors and you put disabilities under RTA. Do we have numbers for that too, or percentages or anything?
Are you looking for the rider breakdown between those who are seniors, those who have disabilities, or those who are seniors with disabilities? 'Cause
Yes.
I can create a breakdown for that. I report it quarterly to the RTA and to HGAT, our other funding
I
partner.
would be interested in seeing that breakdown.
Of course.
If you could get that to me, thank
Off the
you.
top of my head, it's probably generally 50-50, but I can give you specific percentages.
Thank you.
Thank you. Member Hickey.
Thank you. Just one point, having represented Wheatland, I do think that we need to be sensitive to the fact that most of the rides that are generated from Wheatland Township actually go outside of Will County. So much like there's a buffer for Cook County, there would have to be for DuPage in order for this to be an effective program for the people who use the program currently anyway. And I know you guys have worked really hard to make that happen. And I just want to point out that that's an extra stumbling block, but I agree. I'd like to see everything move forward as quickly as we can, but I just want to make sure that we are actually, giving them a product that they need. That's my point.
Thank you, Member Hickey. Member Butler.
I just wanted to make it clear because I didn't understand. Have you reached out to Wheatland Township, the supervisor there, about the program?
Correct, Member Butler.
And did they not express an interest or
I have not heard back yet.
what?
I have not heard back yet.
Okay, just to be clear, what's going on? So you've reached out, they haven't got back to you?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you, Member Butler. Member Ogalla, please.
Thank you. Elaine, you mentioned you're working out an agreement with Central. To manage the cost share, what do you mean specifically by that?
So at this point, we haven't really directly brought something in front of the Central Will participating agencies. So that's the city of Joliet as well as the townships. But my hope would be to bring forward a proposal that would be a slow step down of the cost. So it would be theoretically if we are able to reach to an agreement, the proposal that we're bringing forward is in fiscal year 2026. Central Will pays 100% of their operating costs, but we are overall in charge of managing the program. So Colin would go ahead and prepare an invoice for ridership that would get sent out. And then in FY 27, it would break down to an 80-20 split where 80% of it's covered by Central Will, 20% of it's covered by the county, and then slowly step it down that way until ultimately, I think I decided or was coming up with FY 31. The county is taking 100% of the cost of Central Will.
Okay, so unlike what we've done in the past where townships were paying money towards it, and we stopped that entirely, they did have the Eastern Will County. We had our own service out there. We had Wendy Garlish here, then you guys were hired for that and replaced her. It was 100% paid by Eastern Will County communities, townships. And then, of course, they still had Area on Aging and the other grants available. When we added the southwest portion, they never paid anything per township. The county took on that. So now you're looking at doing the central, but slowly phasing in the cost for the county to assume the additional. Can I ask, what is the proposed budget look like? Because you have 200,000 now in this year's budget and 2025's budget for the county to pay 100% of the rides, correct?
Correct.
And what is your proposed budget for 2026?
I don't recall that off the top of my head. Again, what gets prepared for a budget proposal, Colin and I sat down, we prepared his budget. It gets presented to Finance Director Sean Howard, and Marcy from County Board Offices within that as well. That proposal then goes through the budgeting process. So I don't know exactly what is going to be presented in an initial budget to the county board.
So I understand that entirely. What did you guys put in your initial proposal for it?
I think I made an estimated total program cost of, just purely based on the changes from 2023 to 2024 and 2024 to 2025, assuming a steady growth that does not yet incorporate expansion. My estimated total program cost for fiscal year 2026 would be $600,000, but of that, Will County, again, historically pays about a third of that due to the grants we receive from RTA, Age Guide, PACE's own subsidies. PACE subsidies, when we have consolidated with other programs from PACE in the past, including Southwest Will, those subsidies get rolled into the county's program. That would again take place for Central Will, which would further reduce our overall cost of expansion. But again, when I say the total program cost, I don't mean that Will County is paying all of that. I just mean that Will County ends up paying our portion of it to have our local match meet our grant obligation.
So there's no change then looking at 2026. If you're looking at a third of 600,000, that's 200,000. You have 200,000 in this year's budget. So you haven't changed the budget at all?
I think there's a slight growth. I want to double check my numbers. I don't want to misrepresent anything. Off the top of my head, I believe it was around that. But that assumes a steady growth of just slow incremental increases in ridership based on our current service area. If we wanted to include places like Central Will and Wheatland and these other townships that have their own systems currently, then that would require a higher budget to accommodate that. But that way, we would ensure that everyone in Will County who's a senior or living with disability has access to the same level of service. So we can make that happen. We just need the funding for it.
So I understand what you're saying, but with going into fiscal year 2026 for the budget year that we're going to be looking at, right now it still sits at 200,000, which was in 2025. So you said you included the expansion, yet I don't see any expansion inclusion here at all. If you're still looking at 600,000 and we pay a third, the numbers don't add up to your words.
Member Ogalla, I would say that at this point, I know that we've been having some internal conversations. I know I've been out of the office, Colin's been out of the office as well. So I think that we aren't aligned right now in terms of what we're talking about. So my request would be, after hearing the conversation from the board and from the committee today, I would like us to be able to go back, look at what we've submitted, have some additional conversations with Rashawn, and make sure that what is reflected in our budget request does provide coverage to the townships that don't have coverage right now underneath Access Will County. So I know that Colin does a really good job in terms of projecting out what estimated costs would be. So instead of just standing up here speculating on numbers and, you saying the math isn't mathing, I would really much prefer to have an accurate answer for you. So I apologize, but I would like to kind of nip this conversation in the bud right now.
So then you will give us that information after the fact, because you said you're expanding the budget and then now you're not. So it's
Right.
confusing.
And I will take ownership for that, so I apologize. But yes, I would really much prefer to be able to go back, sharpen pencils, and ensure that we're bringing forward numbers that are accurate and reflective of the desires of this board.
So the only thing I want to say is the difference here is in the past, the townships were responsible for their portion of the ride from their riders. Right now, the townships that are in our program as it sits today, they pay nothing. So the taxpayer could see a tax increase at the county level, and the township tax has not gone down at all because none of the townships has eliminated the cost they were spending to pay for the dial-a-ride service. They haven't done that. So the residents will never see any kind of an increase. And then I have my one final question for you. With the fiscal cliff the financial fiscal cliff that PACE and other services are facing, how does that impact our service?
Our understanding at this point in time is that it doesn't directly impact our service. So we've been told by PACE and RTA that there will not be an impact to our service.
Thank you.
So on the age funding, isn't that, if you accept that funding, does it that then the people give a donation rather than actually pay per ride. Is that correct?
That is correct, Member Butler. So all of our fares are suggested donations. We have really high compliance on it, but if you are going to schedule a ride and you don't have the fare, you can just get on the bus. But most people do go ahead and pay the fares.
Okay, because I was just wondering, because I know that when we were talking about how it worked and stuff, there was a $2 fee per rider, but
Yeah.
really there's not.
It's a
only if they-
suggested
if they choose to. Okay, I just want to make that clear. If we include that funding, there won't be that extra $2 a ride fare, most likely, from the riders to support the program.
It's okay. It's okay. All right. No worries. Did we have anything else on this quarterly report? Any other questions? Seeing none, could we get a motion and a second to approve that? Or do we need to approve anything? Do we even need a motion or a second? Okay, moving on to number 2, confirming award of contract to Austin Tyler Construction for $691,544.10. Led on June 18, 2025, River Road, County Highway 44, resurfacing from East Frontage Road to 200 feet east of Prairie Creek Bridge and Strip Mine Road, County Highway 29, from Illinois 129 to Illinois 53, County Board District 1. Move second. Can we get a fresh roll call? Winfrey Ballots, yes, ma'am.
Ballich,
Yes.
Freeman,
Yes.
Hickey,
Yes.
Oxley,
Yes.
Winfrey,
Yes.
Revis.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. Number 3, confirming award of contract to Iroquois Paving Corporation for $198,977.57, led on June 18, 2025, Washington Road District resurfacing Yates Avenue from Kentucky Road to County Line Road, County Highway 58, County Board District Number 2.
Motion Freeman.
Motion Freeman, second Winfrey, previous Ballich, second Hickey. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 4, appropriating $1,024,100 of transportation funds for the acquisition of necessary right-of-way by agreement or condemnation and other right-of-way costs associated with the improvements for Laraway Road, County Highway 74 from Cherry Hill Road to Nelson Road, Section 20-00138-44-LA, County Board District Number 2. Motion Ballich.
Second Freeman.
Second Freeman. We have discussion on the floor. Ms. Ogala.
Thank you. Hey, Jeff, I was just wondering, how many parcels are we talking about here? Are these the final parcels for this road project?
Oh, thanks.
Sure, this particular segment of Laraway Road has 8 parcels only. And those are final parcels.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving back to the business, I think Ms. Winfrey made a previous. Second Oxley, all in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 5, appropriating $54,460 of transportation funds for the acquisition of necessary right-of-way by agreement or condemnation and other right-of-way costs associated with the improvements for Francis Road, County Highway 64 from Gauger County Highway 52 to I-80, Section 23-00131-12-LA, County Board District Number 5. Winfrey moved, Ballot second, Oxley previous. Second Hickey. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 6, authorizing approval of the establishment of altered speed zone 700 along Division Street, County Highway 75, County Board District Number 5. Motion Ballich. Second Freeman. Previous Oxley. Second Hickey. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7, approval of the establishment of altered speed zone 701 along Plainfield Naperville Road, County Highway 14, County Board District Number 9. Motion Freeman, second Winfrey, previous Balich. I need a second. Second Winfrey. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 8, authorizing the approval of lengthening of altered speed zone 615 along Plainfield Naperville Road, County Highway 14, County Board Districts 9 and 10. Motion Balich. Second Freeman. Previous Winfrey, second Hickey. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to other new business, seeing none. Now we're going to move into the Director of Transportation discussion. We have one item, the Mills Road, Cherry Hill Road Study, public meeting number 3 is going to be on August 5th from 4:30 PM to 7:30 PM at Nowell Park Recreation Center. The website for this project is www.millscherryhillstudy.com. And that's in our agenda. Mr. Ronaldson, can you fill us in on anything you wanted us to know?
Sure, you just said it all.
Excellent.
No, I will just point out that website is available for all the materials from the previous public meetings. The 2 are on there as well. And then once this meeting is concluded, those exhibits will be available on the website as well.
Thank you. Now we're going to move into the state's attorney discussion. Mr. McGrath, we don't see you have anything, correct? All right, thank you. And now we're going to place the monthly work reports on file. We have 3 items, a construction status report. Do we need motions for these? Okay, so we have a construction status report, a maintenance status report, and a phase 2 summary report. If board members have questions, please see Director Ronaldson, and he will, like always, answer your questions. Next one, reports by committee members. Do any committee members have anything to say? Seeing none, we're going to move on to public comment. I believe we have 10 folks lined up. I'm not sure if they're all still here. I'm just going to go through and call their names, and if they'd like to come up and speak, they are welcome to. I think Miss Rogers is going to grab them from the hallway, and they're also making their way in the room now. So we're going to give them a second to catch their breath. We're moving into public comment. Everyone here for public comment. If you were planning to speak, go ahead, start lining up. I'm going to call you one at a time. I see Miss Nasher. She's getting her stuff ready. She's going to lead it off for us. Take your time coming down here. You're good. You're good. Please state your name for the record. If you'd like to spell it, feel free.
Yes. Flip the thingy on. Is it on?
Yes, ma'am. You're ready to roll. And then we got 3 minutes for this, right? Everybody gets 3 minutes. So I have you on a clock.
Go. Hi, my name is Christy Nasser. I'm from Chrisland Farm on 143rd Street, 14862 West 143rd Street. Talking about the widening of the road. I own 31 beautiful acres right across from Reed School, horse farm, and we do a lot of rescues with animals, and people love to come and enjoy our property. They're talking about widening this road. I think it's unbelievably unnecessary. I go down and check on my horses almost 24/7. So I'm aware of the traffic on the road and when it's at the height of traffic, and I don't think this is a necessary evil to put upon the residents of Homer Glen. Talking to Mr. I'll get his name, Ronaldson, and talking about getting the funding for doing these projects. I think as a person that's got animals, I can say this comfortably. He's putting the cart before the horse. He's put all these funds together before he's actually talked to the residents of the area that we don't want it. We're trying to keep our community nice and quiet. If they widen the road, the truck traffic is going to be horrible, and nobody's going to monitor that traffic. I really think that they should keep it the 2 lanes. I know everybody says 3 lanes, but I think 2 lanes is a really good idea and bring the traffic down. I don't know why they don't experiment with this right now to really see where the traffic is. Why don't we just keep the lanes the way they are, take the traffic, the speed limit, and bring it down to 35 miles an hour? And let's see where the traffic really goes. It should go to 159th Street, which is totally underutilized right now. And I really think that you guys will can really look at this. We're still fighting to make sure that we're trying to preserve something that's unique in Will County. It's close to places that are really populated, but we have this little mecca right now that has farms and cute little communities and everything like that. And you say the night skies, I think we really need to really reevaluate what we have here and before we ruin it and we have no chance of getting it back again. So please do not widen this road because I don't want a dang road right up against my house, 20 feet from my house. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You had 30 seconds left if you had anything else to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Judith Seplica. Seplica?
You did a fine job.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I'm Judith Slapika, and I'm
Slapika.
one of Christie's neighbors. I live off of 143rd Street, and I've been in that home for 72 years, so my address has changed, but my house hasn't moved. At any rate, I would hate to see 143rd widen because it would change the whole atmosphere and environment of our community. We have 159th Street, which is widened now, and I suggest that they change the speed limit on 143rd from 45 to 35. And I think we'd see a marked improvement in what people call problem with safety. We have 2 schools on 143rd Street. Off of 143rd, we have a church off of 143rd, and not one of those parishioners or anyone in my area is in favor of 143rd widening. Please send out a survey and take an idea of what the constituents want. And what is that saying? Follow the money. Who's benefiting from 143rd widening? Certainly not the residents. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Slapika. Next, we have Scott Perry.
Good morning. I don't think I need to spell my names. I'm from the south side of Homer Glen, so I am not immediately impacted by 143rd Street. I have a couple comments, though. I am against the widening of the road. And we went through the same process at phase 1 with Hadley Parker. And I can tell you that phase 1 needs some improvement in how it happens. I attended the original phase 1 meeting, and there was nothing about not doing anything in that phase 1 meeting. It wasn't an option. We were presented with one basic option and a couple of tweaks to it, none of which satisfied the community. It took intense feedback, intense pushback, and then that train still wasn't running off the rails. What finally ran that train off the rails was when Homer Glen decided that they would be willing to take control of that road. So phase 1 doesn't always produce anywhere near what the community would like to see. We've woken up to that as a community. Unfortunately, the phase 1 for 143rd Street occurred many years ago, and I don't think we were really aware of what it takes at phase 1 sometimes to make a change. The other comment I have is that I think the reality is quite different today than it was back then. As Mr. Baylett said, Homer Glen is actually seeing a reduction in population, not an increase. And that's not something that's unique to Homer Glen. The entire metropolitan area is seeing that decrease, a slow decrease over time. So the days where we could assume growth was going to happen, that if you build it, people will come, I think that's over for the foreseeable future. And that's something that wasn't laid into the planning back in 2006 when this phase 1 study happened. And so I think as Christine earlier said, this road is not necessary. There's different ways to deal with it. And as painful as it is with contracts in place, I think we need to take a new look, not just at this project, but there may be other phase one projects that have gone partly down the rails that we need to take a look at because the reality is different. We are no longer growing. And it's, you know, it's really a planet-wide issue in terms of population growth. And it means new strategies. It means revisiting old strategies. So I strongly encourage you to retain the flexibility, even if it means going back and changing some contracts. We're spending money that's not necessary and will be detrimental to Homer Glen. You know, we have a strategy that will allow our community to stay vital, even in a zero growth environment. And that is, we have this rural character that people like, and a certain demographic is willing to spend the money for larger lots to move into that more rural character. When we widen roads, we spoil that character. We're taking one of the strongest marketing tools that we have in Homer Glen, and we're spoiling it. And so that I think will limit the vitality of Homer Glen in the long run. You know, so I'm concerned, you know, I understand the immediate impact. It's brutal, but I also from you know, being not impacted by that, I still feel that we have a problem that we have to address. So thank you anyway. For your
Thank you,
time.
Mr. Perry. Next, we have Kathy Hines, is it? Kathy, you still going to speak? Next, we have John McCarthy. John? Next, Heidi Pasella. Pasella? I don't know if I got that right. I'm sorry if Pasella.
Hi, my name is Heidi Pasella. You are pretty close. And I don't remember if Jeff said so, but changeability is a word. It's a noun. So I just want to say that I live on Hadley Road in Homer Glen, and I'm here not just as a resident, but as an advocate. I believe in helping the community by validating their concerns and moving forward to find a solution. I've been involved with the people on 143rd Street for 2 years, and I've tried to keep people informed on the road expansion, how it's progressing or not progressing by keeping my preservation website updated. And here's a short list of concerns that I've collected that the people have shared with me regarding the 143rd Street expansion in no particular order. 1, inviting more traffic, more noise, more pollution. 2, safety around the school, safety for children, safety for the residents who live on the road, safety for the livestock, and safety for all the drivers. 3, it will diminish the agricultural, historical, environmental aspects which make Homer Glen truly unique. 4, wildlife habitats will be affected. 5, property values will go down. 6, utilities such as water, digging in areas where there's septic, leach fields, etc. 7, comfort and lifestyle will forever be altered. Number 8, it will literally drive people away from Homer Glen rather than inviting them in to shop or stay. And 9, there's something called induced demand, which creates more traffic on widened roads. And this is only a sample of the heavy, toxic, burdensome worries and issues of this expansion, which residents have vocalized that they do not want since the very start. This expansion started preliminary studies in 1991, and studies get stale, so they get repeated. After a while, they sit, they need to be repeated, it costs money, and this cycle of this road project has been this: studies, public outcry, the county spends money on more studies, the public responds with more discontent, and it's just a perpetual inconvenience for everybody. Imagine the people that live on 143rd Street. The past 30 or 35 years have been a nightmare for them. And what is it for? A road expansion warrants 2 things: a purpose and a need. What is the need if the proposed population is inaccurate? What is the purpose if it's to make the road safe? It's proven with tests and national studies that widening roads invites congestion. There's something called a social scientist, and they have collected this data. Moreover, the population growth in Homer Glen is not accurate the anticipation isn't as high as they had said. So I'm asking you to please think outside the box. There are other ways to make a road safe. I'm trying to wrap this up real quickly. Industry standards like road widening, noise abatement plans like walls are not in tune with today's communities. People move to areas like Homer Glen for several reasons. And Sorry about that. They moved to Homer Glen for all sorts of reasons, and all of those reasons are linked to one common factor. It's the space, it's the trees, it's the land, it's the atmosphere, it's the nature. And the county project will destroy all of that. But if you consider the possibilities of road safety, which have not yet been addressed, to my knowledge yet here, then all of this back and forth will end. We have the opportunity to set a new standard. Try a new approach before taking the most extreme. For example, the state of Missouri has something called Vision Zero. It's a strategic campaign that aims to eliminate all traffic fatalities and injuries, and it keeps roads safe. It includes speed management, community engagement, and technology. There's something called a road diet. It's a real thing. It's an innovative approach to safer and more efficient roads. An example of a road diet would be a turn lane or a traffic calming options. And as I said in one of the meetings last year here at the executive meeting, I said President Biden had introduced a multi-billion-dollar plan to reconnect communities that were impacted by transportation infrastructure. That is very telling of our age and era right now, that he invested money to correct that. People want to stay connected, and that it doesn't happen with a road. It seems counterproductive, but roads, widening roads can segregate communities. And today, people want to stay relevant. They want to stay integrated. They want to stay in their diversified little biome in their area, and that's how communities thrive. So I'm asking you to please reconsider the plans for the 143rd Street expansion. You have an opportunity to make that difference. And keep that word in mind, changeability. That's a thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Next, we have Sue Stylen, Homer Township Supervisor.
Thank you. I can echo what she said. First, before I speak on behalf of the township, Village Manager Joe Baber had to leave, so I want to express the sentiments of the Village of Homer Glen. The village is open to more discussions of changeability. They question the accuracy of the traffic counts, and they are currently doing a study of new traffic counts in different areas of the road. And they are open to 3-lane design with curb and gutter. Now for my role as Township Supervisor. And I was just recently elected as Homer Township Supervisor.
Big shoes to fill.
And one of the reasons that I was elected was because residents didn't feel that some residents did not feel that they were always heard at Homer Township meetings. And I just want to express and thank you to Member Berkowitz for expressing her comments that when that motion failed to allow the Township Supervisor and a representative of the village to speak before you made your vote, that was also disappointing. And I think that that was another stifling of public input. I attended the public meetings in like 2013 for the widening of 143rd Street. And to the gentleman, I think it's Mr. Perry's comments. When you have public open houses for these projects and you reveal them and show them, they're directed comments. You're not asking for what the public really wants. You're saying you have choice A or choice B, and there is no hearing of a choice C from the public. I attended the meeting, and I also compiled the surveys when I was an employee at the village at that time. And I know that the public, when they were given that option, those options on the 143rd Street, they were just relieved that they weren't having mounted medians. They weren't really being able to voice that they didn't want the widening of the road. And that situation for 143rd Street is 159th Street was widened, and 151st Street is also going to be widened to 3 lanes, which is another east-west in between. So that widening of 143rd Street is not only going to affect the community development, it affects the economic development of the community, because 159th Street is the designed economic corridor, and now you're going to subvert traffic to 143rd Street so cars can just drive through and ignore the businesses that are on 159th Street. So, and I want to clearly state that the township is opposed along with the village. I did attend the meeting on June 2nd, so the township was at the meeting with the executive and Jeff Donaldson and Member Van Dyne and Member Richmond. Also that I wanted to say that I was at the meeting on Parker Road for the Parker Hadley Road project. And there again, you were given the choice of, do you want curb and gutter or do you want the swale? There was no choice to say no widening road. And it is sad that our residents now have to be on the hook for, taking over a county road. It's just too expensive to take over 143rd Street when we already pay taxes to the county. And what do we get from the county is really one of my questions. I do wanted to say I applaud the Access Will County demonstration because that is one of our largest calls is for seniors transportation. So I am glad. Also, I wanted to bring up one other point is Cedar Road is a county road and it intersects with Bruce Road. There are going to be 750 new homes in that area, 450 on off of Cedar for the Tierling Lake subdivision that is in New Lenox, and 260 off of Bruce Road that is in the city of Lockport. So, but they are in Homer Township. So they don't affect the village of Homer Glen, but the traffic will. And that intersection it's an S-curve. And if anyone has driven it, that is an intersection. So that to me is a priority for safety over widening 143rd. I also want to emphasize that I want to see the speed limit on 143rd lowered to 35, like the other residents mentioned. So basically, that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, I think it's Robin. I can't quite read the name on, I think it's Robin or, yeah, Robin.
Not even me.
Sign of high intelligence.
It's Brink. I got Brink a disaster.
Oh.
Which is what it'll be if 143rd gets approved, but that's just my.
Go ahead, sir. State your name for the record and then proceed with your comments.
Robin Brink. I live about 3 houses off of 143rd in Homer Glen. And I had shared this paragraph of this article with Ms. Bertino Tarrant. Sorry if I'm murdering your name. I apologize. About 5 minutes ago in the hallway. So I apologize to her for having to hear this all over again. I'm sure none of you saw it unless you're weird like I am to subscribe to Philadelphia Magazine, which is similar to Chicago Magazine and any other magazines put out for towns. But the title of the article is Highway Robbery. And it talks about what they're doing in Philadelphia with a situation very similar to what's going on here with 143rd Street. So I'd like to read this one paragraph. I'll try to read fast so I don't kill off my 3 minutes, but we'll get there. One possible explanation for the apparent disconnect is that for transportation departments, safety is often conflated with expansion. The gentleman that's the planning professor at the University of Pennsylvania Weitzman School of Design, his interpretation is what's considered to be safety corresponds really well to expanded capacity wide lanes. Sure enough, a PennDOT spokesperson, says the proposed new lanes would not be through lanes, here it comes, for additional traffic, and instead would be used as a measure to get drivers to get on and off the highway more safely. Whatever the rationale, the result is the same, a wider highway with more lanes. And for Mr. Ronaldson, here comes your part. Transportation planners almost universally agree that more lanes won't solve the congestion problem. Once you add lanes, countless studies have shown more cars show up, nullifying any traffic improvements. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brink. Next, we have Tracy Marshall. And if Tracy's not here, it looks like we have Joe Babin. Joe Babin. Okay, so we're going to do 2 more calls for public comment. Public comment? Going once, going twice. Seeing no more, we will proceed with the rest of the agenda. I'm sorry, I'm just making sure I have a copy in front of me. Announcements, reports by the chair. I have none. No need for executive session, so we need a motion to adjourn. Motion Freeman, second Balich, all in favor? Okay, motion adjourned.